Hey everyone, it's Rob in the Abyss. Hope you are doing well. We are into 2008, and it's kind of weird because 2008 doesn't seem like that long ago, but yet it seems that long ago. It's weird. And some of these movies, especially at the top, and you probably know what's coming, but you know, don't seem that old, but they are past 10 years old. It's crazy. In class the last week and a half, we've been working on scenes from The Conspirator. So one of the things I'm doing for those who are not in the workshop is we're working on period pieces and just the different ways they spoke, and then dealing with different situations and thinking differently than we would in 2020. So like I said, we were doing The Conspirator, Civil War time, so I wanted to rep Gettysburg College. Yes, there is a college, full sports, the whole 9 yards. They are the Bullets, appropriately named. It's right there by the battlefield. And a lot of people that know me know that it's one of my favorite places to visit. So wanted to rep. Our first movie for 2008, Hayden Christensen in Jumper. A pretty good movie. It's very unique in the story. He is what they call a jumper, and he's able to jump anywhere he wants in the world, and he discovers other jumpers. And as you see, one of the places he goes is Egypt, Sphinx, Pyramid, somewhere I would really like to go, and hopefully someday I'm able to get there. I'm not a jumper, so I can't do that, but maybe someday we'll be able to take a trip out there. Like I said, pretty good movie. Supporting cast is really good. Diane Lane, Samuel Jackson, and like I said, a unique story worth a watch. Next up, kind of an anti-superhero movie in a sense, Will Smith and Hancock, also with Charlize Theron, one of my favorites. They do a really good job together. And like I said before, like Men in Black and Hitch and stuff like this is up his alley. When he can be kind of witty and sarcastic and kind of sassy, if you will, that's when Will Smith is at his best. And it's, once again, it's another unique, creative story. And I'm all for that. You know, it seems like a lot of ideas in Hollywood have disappeared. So we'll do remakes and we'll do sequels. So it's nice when you can see movies that have some creativity to them and then some fun with the actors. If you haven't seen this, you need to check it out. If you have, it's one that is worth a rewatch. On the comedy side, to start off, Sean William Scott, Paul Rudd, role models. You also have Christopher Mintz-Plasse, I think is how you say his name, who was McLovin in Superbad we talked about yesterday. This is a good mindless comedy. It's funny. They are doing community service and they have to watch after these kids and, you know, being the troublemakers they are, but then influence these kids. And, you know, like I've said many times, whenever you add kids into adults, you get some pretty good humor and good comedy. And it's like I said, it's a pretty good, fun movie. Another good comedy, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Mila Kunis, Kristen Bell, Russell Brand. You know, I really like this movie. I like Get Him to the Greek better though, and I know that's the first one of these two. This is kind of a sequel to that. But Jason Segel, it was dating Kristen Bell, and she left him for the musician, and then he's going to follow her. And you know, I think most of you have seen it. And it is really funny, but like I said, in my opinion, the first one, Get Him to the Greek, is funnier. To me, I'm not a huge fan of Russell Brand, but he does what he does well, and that's Russell Brand, and that's kind of limited of what you can do with that. And I think they've kind of ran the gamut with him and Arthur in the remake of Arthur, and in these two films. But he is really funny in these two films. And I remember one of my students recommended, "Hey, you got to check this out," and you know, I do enjoy it, and I do think it's funny. Tell me what you think. Another good comedy, Jim Carrey, and we're kind of getting the end of these comedies for him, and it's been quite a run. Yes Man, and this is where he basically has been brainwashed to never say no and agrees to everything, and it makes for a really, really funny movie. And Zoe does a really good job with him, bantering back and forth. You know, my kids love New Girl. Well, my girls do. And you know, she's good in that. I think she's really good in this. She's just kind of has that fun, dry sense of humor, and it's a good match with Jim Carrey's big, huge sense of humor. So like I said, this is probably toward the end of his really good comedies, but this is a really good movie. Okay, switching gears. Clint Eastwood, Gran Torino. get off my lawn. You know, what can I say? This is Clint Eastwood at his finest, and we talk about it all the time. Clint Eastwood is Clint Eastwood. It doesn't matter what you put him in. Good and the bad and the ugly, right? Fistful of Dollars, Dirty Harry, Heartbreak Ridge. He's always Clint Eastwood. Just give him, you know, the wardrobe and the lines, and he's off, and he's Clint Eastwood. And it's like we talked about the other day with, you know, changing jobs. He's as good as it gets at just, you know, taking on his next job and dealing with it as Clint Eastwood, turned in a certain way. And, you know, this is another one that's one of those kind of intense, dramatic, strong films, and he's really good in it. We talk a lot as actors about formula, right? And a certain formula. And this is the beginning, in my opinion, of Liam Neeson's formula, and that's Taken. This is, you know, his daughter kidnapped and him going to chase down the people that took her. And you see this in a lot of his movies now, where he is, you know, the guy chasing somebody or somebody chasing him and then him turning around and dealing with it. It is that formula. And Liam Neeson does it really, really well. And it doesn't matter if it's on a plane, it's on a train, it's in a different country. It's just him. And when you're a good actor, people will watch you. That's why there's been 3 Taken movies, because they're all good. They're not great, but they're good. And Liam Neeson's fun to watch, you know. And so, you know, when you get an Unknown or you get, you know, Nonstop, like I said, not the greatest movies, but really good stories with him in them, and he makes them come alive, and he's really, really good, and he understands who and what he is, and he plays that to, you know, the end, and this is the beginning of that, and this is a really good film, and it's a good thriller, and it's a good action movie, and he's terrific in it. All right, another one that everybody knows, but, you know, I have to mention it, Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, and especially Jeff Bridges. But this is really where Downey changed his career, in my opinion, because he was always known for those 80s movies. And then, of course, the trouble with, you know, that he got into the law and drugs and stuff like that. And good for him for getting clean and getting it straightened out and be able to revitalize his career. But, you know, he had done other things like, you know, we talked about with U.S. Marshals and such. But this was the one that really kind of catapulted him into, you know, legendary status with all the Iron Mans and Avengers and Spider-Mans, everything that he's in. I mean, he's the guy, right? And this is the beginning of it. And Jeff Bridges as the villain in this. I mean, is there anybody who's as consistent as Jeff Bridges? I mean, he just does such a great job, and it makes for a good start to this series. My runner-up for 2008 is Tropic Thunder, and we speak about this a lot, movies within movies. This is a movie within a movie, and just from the way it starts, right, where the movie starts and you get previews, right, and then, but like pretend previews, right, and or you actually start with the commercials, right, the Bust a Nut bar and, you know, that booty sweat drink and all that kind of stuff, and then it goes into, you know, Devil's Alley or whatever it is with Tobey Maguire and Kurt Lazarus, 7-time Academy Award winner. It's genius. And then it's a movie within a movie, and it's funny as hell. And then, of course, Tom Cruise as Les Grossman is off the charts. It's funny stuff. And he's so good in it. And I remember going to the theater not even knowing Tom Cruise was in it, because they didn't bill him in it at all. And all of a sudden you're watching that and you're going, is that Tom Cruise? Holy cow. And it's funny as hell. And those scenes alone are worth watching, let alone the simple Jack stuff. And like I said, the Kurt Lazarus, you know, making Lazarus making fun of, you know, method acting by completely going to get pigment surgery so he can be black. I mean, it's just, it takes every kind of myth in Hollywood when it making a war movie and makes fun of it. And it just makes for a really, really, really good comedy, topped by Tom Cruise. I'm just telling you, he's terrific in it. Which leads me to number 1 in 2008, and I think we all know what that is. It is The Dark Knight. Yep, and it's, to me, all about Heath Ledger. Yeah, Christian Bale's great, Michael Caine's great, Gary Oldman, who I did not mention with Batman Begins, great. But Heath Ledger just hit it out of the park. And here's the thing. I remember being in class and one of my students saying, "Hey, Rob, did you hear Heath Ledger is going to be the Joker?" And I just kind of took a step back. I'm like, wow, I don't see him as the Joker, especially how good Jack Nicholson was. You know, Nicholson was so strong, but he was Nicholson. And what Heath Ledger did was not try to be Cesar Romero from the TV show, not try to be Jack Nicholson from the Tim Burton Batmans. He did it his own way. And I was actually watching a documentary on this. And, you know, it's interesting how, you know, Cesar Romero on the TV show was the comic book Joker. And then Jack Nicholson's Joker was somebody who fell into that pool of chemicals and he came out that way. Heath Ledger is just this guy who was, you know, a criminal who just happened to wear the makeup and have the green hair and the purple suit. And it's funny because they talk about, Christopher Nolan talks about doing away with that as they were kind of rehearsing the Joker. We don't want the green hair, we don't want the purple suit and stuff. And then they kind of looked at it and said, well, now he's no longer the Joker, he's just kind of a criminal. So they kind of eased back some of that stuff. So you get the flavor of the Joker, but he wears the makeup to cover his scars, and he tells those different stories about the scars, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, of course, the latest Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, his is more about he worked as a clown and then used the makeup to hide behind all the schizophrenia and all that kind of stuff. So each Joker is uniquely their own. So at this point, they need to just stop. They need to stop hiring somebody new as a Joker because it's been done. It's been done 4 different ways, and it's just, it is what it is. But Heath Ledger does an amazing job. And what's cool about this movie is that there's so many moments that just happen. Of course, when he's blowing up the hospital and it stops, and he knows as an actor there's one take, so he's got to stay with it. And he's kind of fiddling with it, and he throws up his hands and does the whole, and then he jumps because it starts blowing up again. Or when he takes the flute at the party and starts, you know, when he grabs it, all the champagne flies out and he drinks it anyways. Or when they promote Commissioner Gordon and he starts clapping, right? There's so many authentic moments, and they were actually even saying there was a few scenes they did where he kind of just put on his own makeup and they went and filmed almost like that was who this guy was. They were trying to make it human. And as actors, that's what we always talk about, making it human. And Heath Ledger did a really good job of making this guy seem human. And you could watch just the scenes with the Joker and enjoy this movie. But as a whole, this is a really terrific movie. It's really well made. We've all seen it. We all love it. We all think he did a great job. And someone else I didn't mention, Morgan Freeman. You can never forget him. He's always terrific. It's just an amazing cast, an amazing film. And you know what? It's a shame, you know, because he was really getting to that next level as an actor after this. R.I.P. Heath, because, you know, he was really, really good. All right, on the music side, just a couple real quick. I want to point out Lauren Harris. She is the daughter of the founder of Iron Maiden, bass player. And you know, sometimes you get breaks, and you know, she was able to have some singing pipes, right? And because of who she was able to get a band together and put out this album and actually tour with Iron Maiden during the promotion of this album, which I got to see. And she's terrific. She was really good. Her band was really tight. Actually, her guitar player, Richie Faulkner, who was awesome, is now playing with Judas Priest. So that propelled him into, you know, one of the biggest metal bands of all time. But she is really, really good on this album. She has a really good voice. She's really lovely. She does some acting. She does a lot of great stuff. And I'm just a big fan, and I hope that she keeps doing something because she's very talented. John Oliva's Pain. Of course, we've talked about John Oliva. John Oliva was one of the founders of Savatage and Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He was the original vocalist of Savatage. His brother Chris was the guitar player who was killed in the car accident. And what's cool about some of these, this is like his third John Oliva's Pain albums. What's cool about this is that when he was cleaning out his house, or through a closet, he found this box of tapes that he said that back in the day, him and his brother would send tapes back and forth of ideas. And so he found this box full of tapes that Chris had sent them of ideas. And you get a lot of those musical ideas on this album, which is super cool because, you know, Chris had died in 93, if I remember correctly. Yes, 93. And now we're in 2008, so 15 years later, we are still getting music that he had written and recorded. Now, you don't get the recorded versions of his, but you get stuff that he had put down on tape that John had got to listen to, and then with his band, bring that out for us to be able to hear his ideas and his musical genius. And so, like I said, we are very fortunate to be able to still hear Chris's work, which is cool. So I wanted to point that out. Plus, yesterday was John's birthday, so it kind of just blends in to be a perfect time to talk about this. But my number one for 2008 is All Hope Is Gone, Slipknot. I really like this album, from Psychosocial, Dead Memories, the ballad Snuff, which in the video, Malcolm McDowell, who's a phenomenal actor, is in the video. And I always love when big time actors end up in some of these music videos. But this was actually the first Slipknot album I had purchased, and I once again worked backwards to that point, and I just think this is just a really, really strong recording for them. It's also the last recording with their bass player, who unfortunately had died a year or two after this, before the next album. So this was the last album where the full original 9 were playing together. Another great song off of this is Sulphur. And like I said, I could go on and on about the different songs, but I also learned a lot about this band because they wear masks, as many of you know, and I don't know how well you can see the masks in here, but their masks change with every album to kind of fit the theme in their minds, and they design their mask to go with the theme of the album, which I think is kind of cool. It's different but cool, right? It's not Kiss with their makeup. It's not like Guar with their big mask and stuff like that. It's just a mask that kind of connects to their identity, and it kind of changes with each album. And they sometimes will have them off on stage, not too often. So they're not really trying to hide their identity. It's just a part of who they are when they're on stage and when they're doing their stuff. So really, really good album. And that was my number one for 2008. And like I said, the one we probably all would pick for 2008, The Dark Knight. So there you have it. We are moving right along. I'm loving this, like I said, and I appreciate all the comments. Make sure you subscribe. Chris, thanks for sending that out to your friends. The more people I can get watching this, and the more people that can subscribe, the more that I can get my business name out there, the better. That's what this is all about. It's helping my students, but it's also hopefully drawing in new students to the acting world. And if we can share the wealth, let's share it. So anyways, you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday with 2009.